Welcome back. It's now time to go in depth. There is widespread speculation that Trinidad and Tobago is on the brink of social unrest. With companies closing their doors or scaling down operations directly or indirectly related to falling oil prices, thousands of people have been made unemployed, and it's predicted that that number could increase within coming months. Amidst the country's breadline getting longer, taxes and the prices of daily used items, including food, have increased, and the fuel subsidy, which saved citizens a substantial amount annually, is being phased out. To top that, the government recently announced that half of the back pay owed to civil servants would be handed over through state-issued bonds. This is not sitting well with the protective services, including firefighters, policemen, and prison officers. So will these situations in fact lead to social unrest? We explore now with political analyst Mr. Martin Daly. Welcome to In Depth, Mr. Daly.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Now, Trinidad and Tobago is no stranger to social unrest. In fact, social unrest is credited for shaping the development of the country. The labor riots of 1937 and 65, the Black Power Revolution in the 1970s, Bloody Tuesday, and of course the attempted coup d'etat in 1990 are a few examples. Now, you've experienced a few of these. Do the current conditions mirror those of the past which led to social unrest?
Well, yes, there are some obvious parallels between the pre-1990 situation and what is happening now. Those parallels being a severe downturn in the economy, high job loss, and the presence of groups that are thought to be well-trained and well-armed. So those are the obvious parallels. And I think something that is different but equally troubling is that, of course, we have lived the high life here for a very long time. So people are coming down they're descending from quite a high standard of living and quite a carefree life. And I don't know if they have the fiber to make the adjustment given how well we have been living. So it's quite troubling. And of course, there are a lot of guns in circulation in the country. So I would say that in addition to the parallels to the pre-1990 situation, there are those additional features, the height from which we are falling, and the proliferation of guns and gangs in the society.
So you do believe that social unrest could very well be possible given the situations as they exist right now?
Well, I would put it a little more negatively. I think it is something about which we have to be acutely aware. It's a possibility of which we have to be acutely aware. I think it's too early to make any dire predictions, but it is certainly a possibility of which we have to aware. And as you probably know, it's been suggested that as many as 400 Trinidadians have gone abroad to fight in Syria. So that's another complication. So I think it's a situation that has to be very carefully watched, and the bitter medicine is going to have to be administered very sensitively if such a thing is possible. If it's possible to give bitter medicine sensitively, it will have to be administered very sensitively. I don't think the fuel subsidy is a big deal, because with the lower oil price, the price to which the fuel has risen is still quite modest. I think it's the job loss really that is the suddenness and the scale of the job loss that could really be the catalyst for trouble.
Okay. Now, though you've agreed that some of the situations mirror those of the past which led to actual social unrest, you noted that you don't think that it will be possible right now. What are the differences that you're seeing that make you take that stance or that belief?
Well, I just think it's too early to make such a prediction, because for one thing, prior to the recent job losses, the manufacturing sector and the distributive trades were complaining bitterly that they couldn't get labor, and they were trying to persuade the government to be allowed to import labor. So despite the downturn in the economy, there may be some jobs that can pick up some of the slack and calm the situation down. So that's why I'm being cautious about saying anything like it's inevitable. I think that is one difference, that there are supposedly these jobs in manufacturing and in distributive trades for which labor couldn't be had. And the job fairs that the government has put on have been well attended, and apparently a small number of people have got jobs. So I think we need to see how things unfold over the next few months.
What sort of impact did former situations of social unrest have on the country's economy?
Well, in the case of 1990, of course, there was tremendous uninsured losses that turned out to be uninsured because of the burning and looting. So it took a very long time, particularly for the downtown area, to recover. And the losses were very huge. Let's hope we don't experience that again. And I also believe that people became more cynical about the justice system as a result of the release of the coup makers by the Privy Council. People became very cynical about the ability of law enforcement and justice to deliver. I'd say that was a big shaping influence on the society. But I think one has to bear in mind that even though the attempted coup was very serious and led to a lot of damage, the population did not actually respond to the coup makers when the time came. They simply left the coup makers and the army to slug it out. But they didn't respond. They didn't take to the streets Philippine style. Of course, the looting was a terrible thing. But the population as a whole, and the same thing in 1970, although the Black Power marches were very, very large and sometimes quite frightening, when the mutiny took place, the army mutiny took place, the population really went into its shell. So we don't have a history of the population responding. But of course, I repeat my note of caution that there's a much higher volume of guns in the society and very well organized gangs, so that could make a significant difference as to whether there will be synergies between, well, for want of a better word, coup makers and the rest of the population.
Now, usually those uprisings occurred when things weren't so great. Was it that those incidents made bad situations worse?
Well, yes, I think that the uprisings in the short term made things better, but the country recovered. One just has to hope that there isn't a catalytic effect between the unemployment, the guns, and the gangs.
Okay. Now, how can a government, which has the burden of introducing harsh measures to buffer the economy amidst falling oil prices, prevent social unrest potentially brought on by frustration from its own measures?
Well, I think the first thing they have to do is level with the population completely and not give out the underlying economic facts and information must not be given out too piecemeal or in too guarded a way. They have to level with the population so the population buys into how serious the situation is. And if the population is restive but understanding, then you're less likely to get a response from the population to anyone who stirs up trouble. I think, to use an old-fashioned term, bedside manners are very important. And you have to level with the population, and you also have to lead by example. So that if it is that, posh cars and so on are going to be discouraged by high taxes, then the leaders have to set an example by themselves, scaling down their own conspicuous consumption. And that is something that troubles me. We have a lot of luxury SUVs and so on that are used on official business, and it sends the wrong signal, and that's likely to make the population frustrated.
What of the relationship between the government and the opposition, and what role does that relationship have in preventing social unrest in the country?
Well, I think that is, the Americans would say, is a good question. Obviously, if the government and opposition could find some common ground in terms of educating the population and informing the population of the direness of the situation, that would help. But I think the relationship is so bad that is not going to be a positive. But the people will not react to the point of uprising based on the tension between the government and the opposition. They'll react, in all probability, if they react at all, they'll react to economic conditions and at the urging of unconventional leadership outside of the conventional system, political system. So even though the relationship is bad, the negative of it is it won't contribute to calming things, but at the end of the day, it won't be that tension that would provoke trouble.
Thank you so much for weighing in, Mr. Daly.
Thank you. Good evening.
Appreciated it. We were joined by political analyst Martin Daly discussing whether Trinidad and Tobago is headed for social unrest, as is being suggested.